Hello and welcome to the Daily Rundown with me, Dan Morfitt. This is the show on Channel 7 where we look at some of the day's big talking points and some of the little bits you may have missed too. Things up for debate on this Daily Rundown include new planets, royal rudeness and the face of emojis. Plus we'll have some hairy boy blues from musician Jodie, aka She Beat. But first it's time to introduce the guest helping me wade through it all. She's a poet and comedian, and most importantly, she's turned up. It's Rundown regular, pop culture party warrior, Madie Howard. Welcome back.
Thank you, I turned up.
You did turn up, thank you for that, really like it. And making a welcome return to the Blue Ponquette, a man you may know as comic character Danny Pensive, but also stand-up illustrator and improviser John Cooper.
Hello.
Welcome back.
It's
I
nice.
like how the waistcoat matches the Ponquette.
It's like I'm trying to be a harlequin.
Well, we'll see.
Not very well, but that's the diamonds. It relates back to Commedia
You've got the
dell'arte.
bottom one button though.
Well, yeah, he's not supposed to do that.
No, that's disrespectful to King George III.
Is it?
Something like that. Now, if you
Sorry,
want
King
to...
George III, I apologise profusely.
You've got to apologise to royalty.
There you
now,
go.
if you want to get involved with the show and have your say on anything we chat about tonight, tweet us at The Daily Rundown. Go on, we dare you. You can also follow us while you're at it, otherwise it'd be a wasted journey to our bit of Twitter. Right, time now for our first news story. Family members employed by members of Parliament are paid on average £5,600 more than other staff. IPSA, the Independent Parliamentary Standards Authority, has found. Pay for these connected parties, partners, siblings, children and other relations has also risen at twice the rate of other staff. IPSA has called for a review of whether MPs should be allowed to employ relatives in the future, arguing that jobs must not be personal benefits. In total, 139 MPs employ family members. That's more than a fifth of the Right Honourables, at a public annual cost of about £4.5 million. After the expenses scandal proved a lot of them to be corrupt, they now seem to be practicing nepotism. So, do you think that politicians should keep it in their family? Madie?
I have strong feelings about how much I dislike nepotism in any sector of society, let alone the people that are meant to represent everybody and not just the few that they
A fifth
like.
of these MPs employ people in their close circle. Could be blood relatives, could be just a wife. It's not right, is it?
It's not right, and I don't even think it's arguable that it's right. You can see where it comes from, you can see why that would be the case, but that doesn't make it right at all. And the fact that there's a public annual cost of 4.5 million. That's staggering. I didn't even expect it to be that much, to be honest.
That's on top of course, their expenses that they're allowed to claim, because these staff get paid by expenses and their mortgages get paid by expenses, and seemingly their duck ponds get paid by expenses, their furniture, their blinds. John, what do you think about this?
Shoot a lot of them. No, I didn't say that. I didn't mean that. Can we trust these guys anymore? Where is the trust in MPs and politicians now? It just seems every week there's another thing where they are... You know, it's kind of like, yes, there were all the claims scandal and now this, they've just funded, you know. There's a fundamental thing wrong when people are earning that kind of money that's unjustifiable. When you have, like, you know, the kind of homeless problems you have in all the major cities and stuff like that. It just seems like, I mean, I was looking at this thing on the internet not so long back about where the percentage of wealth is in the country, and it's kind of like, it's not a kind of gradual scale that goes up like that. It's kind of like poor, rich,
yeah.
You know, and it just goes up at the end, and this is just more evidence of that. And it's kind of like, what are you going to do with the money? You know, just pass it on to your sons and daughters and siblings, because you can't possibly spend it all in the amount of time you've got left to live because you're a politician, so you're corrupt, so you've got a broken heart, so you're going to die at some point.
In a land where we're supposed to be getting to places by our ability, what we know rather than who we know, this seems to go completely against it. If employing your partner or your child or your nephew is a benefit, surely they are benefit cheats. And that is what they're almost out for the most.
It's kind of a perverse version of that, isn't it? You know, there's, you can almost, I mean, I'm not that old, but even I can remember a time when an MP was someone who was providing a public service. you know, and there was a certain element of trust. It's kind of like, what do you need doing, and I will go and do it. And now it's just kind of like the vote for me because I'm the best, and then give us your money and don't talk to me ever again because I'm going to go and live in a villa in the south of France.
Well, just the other day, David Cameron said that the countries of Nigeria and also Afghanistan were fantastically corrupt. What does that make Britain then, Madie? Because if you're employing your nearest and dearest and giving them a very good wage, that's fantastically corrupt, isn't it?
Yeah, I think everyone recognised the irony straight away. And it was all over the internet, just reactions to it, how ironic that statement was. And with what you touched on, I was wondering, you know, what happened to meritocracy? And even Boris Johnson has said before about how, you know, something really twee about cornflakes rising to the top of the bag or something, you know, hilarious like that.
He's mixing his metaphors though. Surely it's the cream rises to the top.
Oh, Boris!
But also, there's the other phrase where I can't say the word, but poo floats.
Yeah. I mean, there's it's a cultural thing as well, isn't it? Because it's kind of like in British society, we don't like to cause a fuss. Like if this was like France or Italy, it would have kicked off and the people would be in the streets, they'd want heads on sticks and they wouldn't stop. Their emotions and their passions would come up and they'd go, we're not having this, and it would kick off. Whereas, you know, in Britain, we are learning to become more politely unrestful in terms of how we protest against things. But there's still that element of, oh, that's terrible, isn't it? What should we do?
Well, that's the thing. We're discussing it now on the Daily Rundown as our top story. But it's not the top story on other news bulletins up and down the country on, the 5 main networks. This is a dastardly scheme. I have to play devil's advocate as the host by going, well, it's good that they're employing people that they know because that's how they work the best, maybe.
Yeah.
But I can see how, I know it's another country, I can see how Donald Trump is looking popular. Because if this is what a politician does, to try and feather their own bed, it doesn't matter what colour your party is. They're all doing it.
Yeah,
a fifth of all MPs are doing this. Like you said, this should start a revolution of some description.
It ties into, like, I mean, you say what the top networks are reporting on and not reporting on. It's kind of like, you know, where does that nepotism go? Because it's entirely plausible that you would have people within, it's kind of, oh, if we report on this, then we get some money from XYZ, or, you know, it's that whole, it's what you're saying, it's not what you know, it's who you know, you know, and it's kind of like where the money's coming from. It is corrupt. There's no arguing that.
Madie, how do we solve this? I know it's the Daily Rundown, I know we are in the big movers and shakers of the world. How do we solve this? How can we solve this right now on this show?
Right now? Right now on the show, I'm not sure, but in general, I think people can take action more and stop just being comfortable. I think that narcissism is a massive epidemic. I think it's a big reason why MPs are so self-serving, is because as a society, we all just want to be comfortable, so things like this happen. And I think the biggest reaction will be, there'll be a signature. There'll be signatures asked for online, you know, there'll be a petition. I think direct action, you know, it has such a tarnished name that people are too afraid. Like you were saying, you know, what's really going to happen about it? But you can take steps and organise to actually lobby your MP. You can lobby your MP. That is something that you can do. And you can harass them on social media in all these populist ways that will actually get you some attention.
I wouldn't go as far to suggest of harassing them, maybe questioning them.
You can lobby on social media. I don't think it's harassment.
But you could. The first step could be to ask your own local MP, are you one of these 139 MPs that employs members of their family? Who are they and why do you employ them?
Yeah.
What's in it for them? What's in it for you? And how can you say you support people rising to the top on ability when you've got the blood in your business, really?
Yeah.
But I think people just aren't surprised by the hypocrisy because it doesn't surprise us. It's almost expected. Somewhere in our brains, we just expect it. And we want to get irate about it and we want to be shocked, but temporarily, and then we want to get on with our own lives because I don't think we really know what to do, to be honest.
Madie, you've hit on something there. John, do you think that's the problem? The expenses scandal should have blown up to something bigger.
Yeah.
But we all sort of sat down and just went, no, it's fine that they can have a second house. It's fine that we can pay for that. And if they then sell that house, it's fine for them to keep the profits.
Well, it all goes back to the money, doesn't it? It's kind of the money is the thing that's kind of like the money. Whoever is the person who is the person who's got the money is the one who it can influence so many different levels of things in terms of media and work and livelihoods of, you know, across the board in terms of companies and how people live their lives. So it's so more savvy now to be able to hide behind so many different layers of, you know, you look at a company, you go, who owns that company? And it turns out that the company's not owned by that, they're owned by an umbrella group of companies who's owned by this trust fund company, who's owned by this another thing, and another thing. Yeah, and it kind of goes all the way back to whatever. So it's kind of, it's hard to get black and white about that stuff.
And, you know, we've had the expenses scandal after the last general election. We lost a lot of MPs that had been in a job for a long time, from all parties. And a lot of them then seemingly went into directorships in companies that they may have had a hand in regulating or legislating for and against. Yeah. It seems like a money pit rather than some people doing a civic duty. And
that's exactly what it is.
If that's just of a few of them, then the whole system's wrong. There's probably some good people in there that aren't claiming expenses for wrong things, aren't claiming directorships.
Yeah, I'm sure there are. I'm sure the people who just, you know, they are related to someone, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they aren't talented and skilled, and they probably can do the job and do the job well. So you can't just write everyone off. I mean, there's an element where it's kind of, unless you're going to go through it by a case-by-case basis of who, why, where, what and when, which would take you forever, how can you possibly generalise about this stuff?
Well, surely, Madie, the only way we can do that on an individual basis is by voting people out that we don't trust at the next general election or by-elections.
And then new corrupt people may or may not get in.
Yeah. Anyone who wants to be in power should not be allowed to be in power.
Sorry for not being positive there.
Have you seen the film The Purge? We should have that.
I've seen the one with anarchy, the second one.
Yeah, basically once a year everyone is allowed to go and like poke sticks at their local MP, and the one that gets poked the most isn't allowed to be an MP anymore.
John, you're coming up with some good ideas, but I can't condone or condemn. Right, that's the end of part one of this Daily Rundown. Next we'll be talking about Her Maj Highness and a stupid outburst of a hooligan. That's just one story. Get the kettle on and the three of us will be back in just a few minutes' time. Don't go away.